the Kings Park Psychiatric Center. Now that's a building we haven't seen yet. What is that? How many lost souls are trapped in this field? My name is Nicholas. I am a young paranormal investigator in search of proof of the spirit world. I am also a person that can easily sense and feel spirit energy around me. I am joined by my grandmother, Helen, my uncle and cameraman, William, and my father and executive producer, Nick. We will search for ghosts at some of the world's most creepiest haunts. This is a haunted legacy. My father and I are returning to Kings Park, New York to reinvestigate the Kings Park Psychiatric Center. We're also going to investigate the haunted Pottersfield Cemetery. When we arrived back in Kings Park, we got all of our equipment together and began our search. We first decided to investigate Building 45, the water tower. So now we're walking up to the water tower, Building 45. And this building is really interesting because it has a lot of old photos at the Kings Park Museum. But along the way, we came across the Pottersfield Cemetery, so we decided to investigate there first. Alright, this is the Pottersfield Cemetery, and there's a few headstones that are buried under here, so let's go take a look. This plaque is placed in memory of the hundreds who are buried here. They lived with severe illness. May they rest in peace. Wow.
Hundreds buried.
Could the spirits haunting the Pottersfield Cemetery be from the Kings Park Psych Center?
Wow, you realize we're walking on skeletons?
Yeah.
A lot of these are unmarked. None of them are marked, really.
Yeah. My father and I decided to split up for our ghost hunt. I took out my digital voice recorder and did an EVP session. Let's see. Alright, whatever restless spirits are here in this buried cemetery, can you make your presence known to me? My name is Nicholas. How many lost souls are trapped in this field? Can you speak into this speaker here and make your words clear to me so I can hear you? This is our first haunted cemetery that we're investigating. So, let me see. I wasn't receiving anything yet in this cemetery. My father wasn't receiving anything either. So we wrapped up our investigation at the Pottersfield Cemetery. Before my father and I left the Pottersfield Cemetery, we both noticed a dog running in the middle of the cemetery.
Well, someone just like that.
Yeah, that's cool. What's its name?
That's Rulers. He's a German short-haired pointer.
Really? Very
champion.
Very nice. We decided it was best to hide the owner's identity. So now, look at this beautiful view here. You can see Building 93 in the background. It's a nice view of Kings Park. It really is. Then my father and I walked towards the water tower. Now that's a building we haven't seen yet. This building is interesting. It has an interesting shape and it's said to be torn down soon, in the coming year. When I got up to the water tower, I did an EVP session. Hold on. Let's see. Let's do an EVP session. Alright, who's trapped here? Look at the dog taking a pee. Or not, maybe it's up. Yeah, the door's open. We're not going in there, of course. Who's out there? My dad and I walked towards the entrance of the water tower. Be careful, there could be asbestos in there. Then my father and I headed on to investigate the main hospital grounds. So those two buildings that you see right there are, of course, Building 93 and Building 15, Wisteria. Alright, now these are the quads. They are comprised of buildings 41, 42, and 43. And they are also called Group 4. And people even climb to the top of the quads and throw bricks off. They still go inside these buildings when they're not allowed. That's the power plant, Building 29. And actually, in 2013, there used to be a smokestack that was connected to that building. And it was imploded, and many people came and watched. Especially in this area, they can watch from across the street. And that thing was filled with asbestos, and it made a giant cloud of dust and everything. It was very dangerous. Nick and I then walked up to the quads and did another ghost hunt. Alright, hold on. Wow. Look at them. It's trying to get too close. Look at all that debris. Let me just do an EVP session here. Alright. Any ghosts here? We can't go inside the buildings. Alright. Any ghosts here? We can't go inside the buildings. Make you press this known. Anyone out there? Nah, it's too windy. We got the ghost meter out. When we got to the other side of the quads, we decided to split up again. Alright, now we're at the quads, so let's do an EVP session. Alright, who's trapped here? Any spirits here? At the psych center? This is my last time coming here, probably. This is your chance to communicate with a young paranormal investigator. Can you just turn on the ghost meter? I don't feel anything. Whoa. You hear that? What is that? All of a sudden, I started hearing some loud banging noises coming from inside the quads. You hear that? What is that? You hear that? What is that? You hear that? What is that? To me, it sounds like someone hitting on a metal pipe and making that clanking noise you hear. I just heard a metal clang. I couldn't tell if this was caused by wind or not. I gave a shout to my father. Hey, Nick. Stop. Nick, wait. I was calling you, Dad.
Huh?
I was calling you. You know I was calling you, right, Dad?
I didn't hear, just at the end, I heard you.
Oh. My father and I decided to investigate these noises further. Sound like a metal clang in there.
Well, yeah, it's probably the wind blowing through the windows are wide open.
Yeah, I know, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
And there was barely any wind there. We wrapped up our investigation at the quads. Behind those trees is Building 5, and that was a place for laundry. It used to be a laundry building. Later it became a building for maintenance trades, like woodwork and plumbing. And it was built in 1909. This facility once had a piggery and a dairy farm. Look on the ground, you can see like the marks from the truck, you know. When it was being demolished, the people left these dirt trails. Building 48, the grounds building and the maintenance building, used to stand here, but now it's gone. Who knows if there's any restless spirits on these grounds that used to house a piggery and a dairy farm. Alright, now that's Building 7, and it was constructed in 1966, and what we're going to do now is walk up to it. So this is the back of Building 7. People come to this spot a lot, and sometimes they hear noises come from inside. Then my father and I began another ghost hunt. Just as we were setting up, we heard some loud bangs coming from inside Building 7. Remember, these bangs could be caused by wind or other people that are inside the buildings. We decided it was best to leave the area. We concluded our investigation on the main grounds of the hospital and moved on to the Nissequogue River State Park. This used to be the area where Building 59 stood, the first power plant that was built at the Psych Center. It was one of the oldest buildings that stood, and now it's all gone. Building 60 also stood here too. It was built the same year as Building 59. It was designed as a pump house. Then my father and I headed towards the water. A marina was once here, Building 55. It was torn down in 2013. This is where the marina was. But the only thing left of the marina is this little garage here. Great shot. See, that's the house right there, the little garage that went with Building 55. Now, the marina itself has been turned to dust. My father and I took a break and looked at the view. After we looked at the view, we moved on to our last building to investigate, which is Building 67. So this is Building 67, and this is one of the houses we didn't see yet, and it's really beautiful. And this was designed as a family house. My father and I then walked up to Building 67 and did another ghost hunt. Look at those windows. See that, Dad? No. My father and I circled the building once. We both didn't really feel anything around the building. Then we wrapped up at Building 67. And we finished up our second investigation at the Kings Park Psychiatric Center. The Kings Park Psychiatric Center sits abandoned and desolate after 20 years of being shut down, and both times we came here we desperately tried to capture evidence of the paranormal. For example, when I was at the quads earlier, I thought I heard a metal clang come from inside, but it could be debunked by the wind. And then later we also went to Building 7, and we both heard with our own ears a loud bang noise come from inside. And while we were there, we also decided to investigate the Potter's Field Cemetery, and we both hoped that we were able to help these spirits move on from these grounds here at the Kings Park State Hospital.